Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is April the 11th, 2025. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Friday. Happy Friday to you. Happy Friday. Hopefully this energy finds you well. It carries no matter what day you're listening to this on. But despite being sick, we persevered and still we rose. Um, I could talk news right now about how that's not even a thing you can read at the Naval Academy. Thank you, Pete Hegseth, I guess. Oh, it's too woke, but Minecraft isn't. Sorry, I read that before I got on here, and I was like, I know I'm probably not going to get to cover that this week because there's just so much going on, and due to my capacity, I just can't get to everything, of course. But yeah, just seeing that a Maya Angelou writing is not allowed in the library because it's too culturally offensive somehow. But we need to do that with Mein Kampf. That stays. That's crazy. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. This is the blog section, and I'm talking about news. So, oops, I'm mixing and mashing. But no, still sick. But we woke up this morning. Actually, I got a good amount of sleep, like a good night's rest. No bad dreams. We love that. Clap it up. So I said, "Hey, let's get to it. We got to get back to work." And I'm glad I was able to get back in because this was like one of the easiest days, which I was very thankful for. The universe, gave me a pat on the back and said, "Let's just get through this, okay?" So that was nice. It was pretty productive. I didn't actually have any like downtime when I was sitting on my ass, but like overall, it just wasn't overwhelming. So I'm happy about that. We'll take that. We'll talk about a little bit of food too. I haven't talked about food, I feel like, in like a week or so, right? Since the pizza. So, um, I don't know why I was peckish and I just wanted to treat myself. And I got a bag of flaming hot Cheetos with my sun chips. So I was definitely on my fat shit. It was good. It was yummy. I miss munchies. You ever get a bag of munchies? Those are so good. If you haven't, get a bag. Just try it. I mean, there's so many. Well, there used to be so many options. They had the cheese one. They had the spicy one. Both are good. I think they probably had like an OG one too. I don't know. At least in their prime. Anyway, munchies solid. But I did a little bit of a two of that. That was fine. That was good. Let's see. Oh yeah, actually, since we're on the topic of food, let's just talk about some food stuff I did last night, and then also I believe Wednesday, yes, for soup day. But last night I had some chicken broth that I got from Walgreens, and I gotta say I feel like it was low quality chicken broth. I've never bought it before. It was definitely something on my to do list to do one day, and I was like, well, let's try it out tonight. So I got some chicken broth. I seasoned it up and then cooked my chicken and rice meal. And I had like the side of broth and I just kind of incorporated it. And like standalone, the broth wasn't impressive. It didn't have any kind of good aroma. Didn't really like do much, but I added a little bit of onion. I seasoned it, and then I was just able to kind of incorporate it into the chicken and rice. And I gotta say, it elevated it. So yeah, that was that. And then also Wednesday, that was my soup night, usual. I had this Mediterranean lentil soup. It was so good. And I gotta say, shout out to my homie, my friend Kira. She is a soup maxer and she's been putting me on some soup game that I wasn't really like hip to. And I feel like over the past 2, 3 weeks, I've really upped my game and it's made my soups a lot better. Like adding just the mere adding of like some carrot and lettuce, just some extra stuff to my soup. Like, I'm just like, damn, this is so much better. And then just realizing that lentils are good, mind blowing. So shout out to the homie. Really put me on game. So yeah, my soup was good. My chicken and rice with the soup with the broth kind of made it a little soupy. That was good. The hot Cheetos, hot and good. As hot as flaming hot's gonna be, right? Anyway, back to my Friday. What did we do after work? We went to the gym. That's right. That's right. Wound up staying a little bit later, but I got to chat with a friend, so that was good. You know, it's nice that I got a little social time while I got my sweat on, so that's good. That's fun. And overall, the gym, like, it went good. You know, I thought I was kind of half-assing it, but I realized sometimes I'm just in my head and maybe a little too overcritical. Like, if overall, I got in my work, I got in my work. Generally it was like my usual 2 hour session. So, I'm pleased with myself. So we will see how the weekend goes in terms of if I'm gonna have a repeat of last week, if I'm gonna do a double session, a double header. I don't know. Well, I'll keep you posted. That's neither here nor there, right? But yeah, I mean, I think we're all caught up. I think I'm done yapping. I gotta say, I hope that my voice does not give out. We're still in the weeds. I'm feeling a tad better, but it is a labor to speak. It is a labor to even breathe. So here we are about to do our startup, and I'm sure that's not going to help me very much. But we got the water, we got the Gatorade, we got the something, and we'll get into it. Oh, okay. Ooh, ooh, ooh wee. Excuse me. Ooh, excuse me. Wow. Actually, I'm gonna blow my nose. Let's just get that out of the way. Take one. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh, this is real. This is real life. Okay. From Yahoo News. Louisiana immigration judge says pro Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil can be deported. An immigration judge in Louisiana has decided that Mahmoud Khalil, the former Columbia University graduate student and pro Palestinian activist, can be deported as a national security risk, the Associated Press reported Friday. Khalil was arrested by immigration officials last month as part of the Trump administration's crackdown on student protests it claims support Hamas. Judge Jamie Comins had given the federal government until Wednesday evening to provide evidence to support why Khalil should be deported, saying she would terminate the case if it failed to do so. An attorney for the Department of Homeland Security submitted a brief memo from Secretary of State Marco Rubio arguing that Section 237 of the Immigration and Nationality Act authorizes him to personally deport people if he believes their presence would have potentially serious adverse foreign consequences or foreign policy consequences for the United States. While Rubio acknowledged that Khalil's activities were otherwise lawful, he argued that letting him remain in the country would undermine U.S. policy to combat anti Semitism around the world and in the United States, in addition to efforts to protect Jewish students from harassment and violence. Condoning anti Semitic conduct and disruptive protests in the United States would severely undermine that significant foreign policy objective, Rubio wrote in the undated memo. This is crazy to me because essentially we're saying, yes, he has free speech. He was lawful in his actions, but according to us, he was being an anti-Semite and he was encouraging and promoting Hamas, which is essentially not what was happening. He was being pro-Palestine. This is an Algerian of Palestinian descent. He came to America. He's finding his dream. He has a fucking green card, by the way. He has a whole wife and a baby on the fucking way. But because he is fighting for Palestine here at Columbia University, because he was doing that, that is deemed to be above the pale, beyond the pale for Marco Rubio, for this Trump administration. And it allows them to say, hey, get out of here. Like, it is wild that that's all it took. That's all the judge needed to hear was that, oh, well, I think he's an anti-Semite, so he's got to go. Like, he's promoting Hamas and anti-Semitic behavior, so, like, what can we do? He's got to go. What's the evidence for that? Like, where? You're just pulling it out of your fucking asshole. He's talking about a free Palestine, an unoccupied Palestine. No ethnic cleansing, no fucking genocide. That is what he's advocating for. They're making this shit so obtuse and so wide so that it's like, if you just say something we don't like, we'll chalk it up to that. If you say something that is against Israel, we'll chalk it up to anti-Semitism. If you talk about Zionism, you're cooked. You're a terrorist. You're promoting Hamas. You are Hamas. Like, this is the narrative that we're spinning. This is where we're pushing the conversation to. This is what we're taking the actions to. It's insane. You should be upset about this. You should be scared about this. Like, I'm not trying to monger or anything here, but like, this is disturbing. Like, my real hope was that you got this in front of a judge and they would be like, okay, no, that's bullshit. But they're like, no, like, I mean, hey, this is the section. He said the thing. Like, as if you can just do a spell, wave a wand, like you're fucking Harry Potter, and it's like you just get your way. Where were we at? According to the Associated Press, Khalil's attorney said they plan to seek a waiver to fight the deportation order. A federal judge in New Jersey previously issued a temporary hold barring Khalil's removal from the country. We talked about how we got here, more or less. I mean, this is all to more or less promote a chilling effect on free speech. I don't really have any other way to think about it or convey it. We talked about the story with Rumesa Ozturk. I know I'm getting her name wrong. I'm sorry. In this situation that happened at Tufts University. In that situation, she did I think a little potluck thing. I think she signed on an op-ed or that was enough. That was enough for her to be detained and potentially deported now. We're just kidnapping and disappearing people. This is supposed to be a fucking democracy. I guess not. Dude, it is something that drives me fucking wild just to see this shit actually unfold. Like, this is the shit that these motherfuckers were doing a circle jerk over the Project 2025 papers about. They dreamed of being able to do this shit, and they're finally getting their wish. The gates are fucking opening for them to do it. There's a last quote I want to pull from here, from Eric Lee, an attorney who represents Mamadou Tao, a Cornell University PhD student whose visa was revoked. This was something he was talking to NPR about. This is what happens in a dictatorship, and these are test cases. If the government can get away with doing this to these students, it can do it to everybody in this country. Your citizenship won't save you. And I've mentioned this before, and I want to mention it again. This is only the beginning of this stuff. And if you think, oh, this isn't going to affect me, I'm a natural born citizen here. That it's not an issue. He's already talked about sending people to the El Salvadorian prison or whatever, locking them up just for fucking with his little boy toy, Elon Musk. Don't think you're safe. And it's well, don't worry. I agree with Trump. I'm on this. I voted for him. Blah, blah, blah. Yee, brother. Guess what? It's only a fucking matter of time before you disagree with this motherfucker. And guess what? Wake up, motherfucker. It's 1984. It is insane to me that people are just going to be like, no, I'm going to cheer for this. I love this. I love to have my bully president. I've literally heard that, as if it is described that he's the good bully or something. And it's no, dude, a bully is a fucking bully. If that is your leader, you have an ineffective leader. But we're going to talk about peasants and savages or some shit, man. That's a whole other thing with J.D. Vance talking about China. God damn, dude. These motherfuckers is on 5, bro. It's crazy. We have more Trump admin bullshit we got to talk to. We can kind of try to spin this like it's good news. I want it to be good news, but we'll see. I don't hold my breath when it comes to anything that comes out of Trump's mouth, out of his admin's mouth, and whether or not they're going to do or not do some shit. But anyway, let's get into it. From Politico. Trump admin must facilitate return of man erroneously deported to El Salvador, Supreme Court says. The Supreme Court is requiring the Trump administration to facilitate the return of a Maryland man deported last month to a notorious prison in El Salvador due to what officials described as an administrative error. The justices turned down the administration's request to set aside a judge's order that U.S. officials seek Kilbar Abrego Garcia's release and return to the U.S. and return to the U.S. After he was flown to El Salvador, despite an immigration order that he not be sent there due to the threat of prosecution by a local gang. The judge's order properly requires the government to facilitate Abrigo Garcia's release from custody in El Salvador and ensure that his case is handled as it would have been had he not been improperly sent to El Salvador, the Supreme Court ruled Thursday. The High Court's ruling doesn't explicitly mention bringing Abrego Garcia back to the United States, but it leaves in place the bulk of the U.S. District Judge Paula Zinnes's order that specifically required his return to the United States. Just hours after the justices ruled, Zinnes ordered the Trump administration to take all available steps to facilitate the return of Abrego Garcia to the United States as soon as possible. The judge also demanded details from the administration about Abrego Garcia's current location and status and what steps officials are taking to facilitate his return. Zinnes called a 1 p.m. hearing Friday in her Maryland courtroom for an update on the matter. The Supreme Court's decision is a significant rejection of the Trump administration's claim that it lacked any power and therefore could not be compelled to attempt to remedy its admitted error. It also comes just days after the justices ruled that the administration must provide due process to other foreign nationals that President Donald Trump has sought to quickly deport using rarely invoked war powers. Thursday's ruling could have consequences that extend beyond Abrego Garcia's case. The Salvadorian citizen was deported abroad. I'm sorry, I'm skipping on this word. I'm going to say abort. A controversial series of flights last month that also included about 130 Venezuelan men who were expelled from the U.S. after Trump invoked the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 against alleged members of the Tren de Agua gang. It's also worth mentioning there's some emergency Supreme Court rulings that I've just missed this week. I think one of them was that the Aliens Enemies Act of 1798 is fine to use. It is okay. And I think there's another one too. I think that has to do with maybe the firings or whatever, or the government workers. I think that might be allowed, but I think they shifted it down to the lower courts or something like that to be fully resolved. Once again, don't have the time and capacity to really do that, and I figured, hey, we'll let some of this stuff bloom to fruition before we actually cover it, because I try to only cover about 4 stories a day. Anyway, the new decision explicitly declares that individuals who contend they were illegally deported from the U.S. can continue to seek remedies from U.S. courts. That could open the door to challenges from those deported to El Salvador under the wartime statute, who are now locked up in an anti-terrorism prison known for its harsh conditions. Was ABC Start Here did a segment on it where they had a guy go to the CCOT prison, and the shit is bleak. It is terrible, and hopefully, I mean, it is really jarring to watch. But if you saw the little fucking trailer snippet that Bukele, chopped up and had put up to show how they're treating these fucking prisoners, that alone was fucking crazy. They shave their heads. They're pushing them around. They're pretty much damn here just harassing, and it's almost like a pre-torture. But yeah, it gets worse after that fucking video. Some of the isolation of just being literal darkness, small cell for 15 days for almost any infraction. The fact that I think you only get out to do religious activity, like a church thing, or calisthenics for maybe an hour or so a day. It's fucked up shit. And I mean, hey, I'm saying this for a person who, has at least knows a little bit about the American prison system, and that is also very bleak and fucked up. But yeah, this is on some shit that's on some other levels. Granted, speaking of Nayib Bukele, he's supposed to be coming to America Monday to talk, I guess, with Trump or in the administration or whatever about the conditions in terms of where are we going from here with the prisoners and yada yada blah blah. But that being said, I don't know how this is gonna fucking go, because yes, at this point, the Trump administration says, hey, we're gonna comply, we're gonna do what is asked, but they also add that it's like, hey, the Supreme Court also said that you have to show deference to us, like we're the executive branch, and you have to show that, like that needs to be conveyed, and we don't really feel like you initially did that. And it's like, okay, cool stipulation. He needs to come back. Like, he needs to come back, and we have to go through this whole process, the due process, if you fucking will. You know, remember that? So, I mean, we'll see if they slow walk this, because, I mean, they could easily say, okay, well, we're trying, and then Bukele could just go, yeah, I'm not going to give him up. He's an El Salvadorian citizen, and we're going to keep him here. I mean, they also do kind of go through, once again, we've talked about it a little bit, how, you know, they're saying, hey, he's MS-13, even though that's not something that's been fully confirmed. It was something that a criminal like an informant or whatever had said, yes, he is. The police said, okay, yeah, he is. Also, he had some Bulls merch on, like Chicago Bulls merchandise on. So it's like, oh, dude, 1 + 1 = 2. Here we go. He's a gangbanger. He's a gangbanger terrorist, human trafficker. Like, and they just left it at that. And they're like, yeah, for those reasons, we get to deport him free, quick as you like. And it's like, no, you don't. And where is the evidence anyway? And they're like, oh, okay, maybe we'll say oops on this. And that's as deep as we've gotten. And I mean, we'll see if they are actually compliant with the law here, with what a judge, which the Supreme Court and this judge are ruling. You know, I mean, this is a watermark in and of itself right here in this situation is how is this administration going to handle this shit? How are they going to operate on this shit? We shall fucking see. Hopefully there's a moment here where it's like, hey, we see another moment where the administration backs down because the Supreme Court said you have to do so, right? Just like with the with the tariffs and shit. Okay, we see that the markets are bleeding out. It looks really bad. On top of that, I learned this too, just kind of listening to some stuff. Essentially, Japan started pulling out bonds. And like once you do that, that is apparently one of those like shaky tiles that if this is starting to break or starting to fall out from under us, no one then believes that the American dollar or the American way of doing things is sustainable. This isn't working. It's time to fucking panic for real. And that was the thing that I think that was able to be conveyed to Trump. And he goes, okay, fine. All right, time to push the button. And that was like one of the things that really, made him blink. So yeah, I mean, hopefully this right here is another moment, and hopefully we see more moments like this. But I don't fucking know, and we don't know how they're gonna actually fully respond. With back to the tariff shit, I know I keep talking about it all week, but like when the 9 days comes up, who knows where we're gonna fucking pee at, dude? And who knows if the market even really believes Trump at this point. It could be so much panic that just doesn't really go away, that the market just kind of flops around and never really recovers in a way that's actually really profitable for any fucking body. And then not to mention the tariffs are already in effect. So who knows? But hey, that's why we're here, yapping about it every day. Crazy, huh? Anyway, let's move on to other things that are not wholesome or good, but they're not Trump related. So, silver linings. Let's take a water break. I need it. My throat is, constricting. Oh, boy. Ooh. Okay, from ABC News. Walmart employee in Georgia kills 2 coworkers, injures another in an after-hours shooting spree. A Walmart employee killed 1 coworker and injured another in an after-hours shooting spree that started at the store and ended with the individual killing another coworker at a nearby home, according to law enforcement officials. The initial shooting took place in a Walmart branch in Covington, Georgia, about 35 miles east of Atlanta, at around 1:30 a.m. on Friday, according to the Newton County Sheriff's Office. An employee, identified by police as 24-year-old Dwayne Ida, allegedly exited the building shortly before the shooting, retrieved a firearm, and returned inside, according to a preliminary investigation. Ida then located a male acquaintance within the store and fatally shot them, according to the sheriff's office. He later encountered a second acquaintance outside Walmart and shot them as well. That person was transported to a local hospital in critical condition, but has since been upgraded to stable, according to the sheriff's office. Ida then left the area and went into a neighborhood where they forced entry into a residence, found another female acquaintance, and fatally shot her, the sheriff's office said. Now, it's not mentioned in any detail, but I think that might have been the more graphic one from what I was able to pull. But, like, I was only able to get, like, part of it before I got paywalled, and I was like, fuck. But that being said, it sounds graphic enough as it is. Um, let's see. Now, there was no customers inside this Walmart. This isn't like a 24-hour situation, so it was all employees there. But obviously very crazy that it spilled out of the Walmart and then went into a home. The deceased victims have been identified by police as 21-year-old Khalaf Barksdale and 19-year-old Akila Clark. The third victim, 29-year-old Ryan Bradley, is currently in stable condition. Ida allegedly fled the area and had a brief standoff with Aiken County, South Carolina Sheriff's deputy and South Carolina state troopers. He then apparently shot himself and was taken to a local hospital, according to Aiken County Sheriff's Office. Aiken County is on the Georgia-South Carolina border, about 2 hours from Covington. No deputies were injured. Ida remains in custody and is currently in criminal condition or critical condition. The investigation remains active and ongoing. So yeah, that's really sad, and unfortunately, we are closing out on another sad note, and it is plane related. But yeah, we're gonna take a trip to Florida for this one, y'all. But let's go ahead and take our last break, and we'll go ahead and close it out. Save me, Red Gatorade, save me. Oh boy. Oh. Okay. Okay. Very yummy. Whew. From ABC News. Small plane crashes in Boca Raton, Florida. All three on board killed. All three people on board a small plane were killed when the aircraft crashed in Boca Raton, Florida on Friday morning, according to the local officials and the Federal Aviation Administration, or the FAA. The aircraft had apparently some mechanical issues and went down here on military trail. Michael LaSalle, assistant fire chief for Boca Raton Fire Rescue, said at a news conference. Also, there was a car on the ground. One man in the car suffered non-life-threatening injuries, LaSalle said. He hit a tree because of all the debris and fire. The Cessna 310R took off from Boca Raton Airport at 10:15 a.m. and was heading to Tallahassee International Airport, the FAA said. It was in the air for approximately 8 to 10 minutes before it crashed, according to Kurt Gibson, an aviation accident investigator with the National Transportation Safety Board. Excuse me. The airport will be sent to an NTSB facility, and investigators are gathering video and interviewing witnesses as part of the agency's probe into the crash, according to Gibson. A preliminary report is expected in 30 days, he said during a press briefing Friday. I believe, Dylan Smith kind of has his account here, saying he saw the plane flying extremely low and appearing like it would hit the roof of a nearby building. I saw the plane basically turn, come back, and I heard it, and I saw it go over our building, Smith said. He lost sight of the plane, but then said it came back. It was looking like maybe it was going toward the nearby Boca Raton airport. I just saw it drop below the trees and heard a boom. He said his office window shook and he saw a fireball. So yeah, pretty fucked up, brutal situation there. Personal planes. That, hey, by all means, I don't want to yuck anyone's yum here. I know I talk a lot of shit about helicopters. The personal plane thing, I've said this before too. I'm not really trying to get into Cessna. I really don't want to. All the stories I've covered. That being said, it's just like getting in a motor or getting on a motorcycle or whatever, or even a boat. Like, maybe you got a little speedboat. You want to zip around in one of those. Cool. Actually, no, I'm not gonna lie. I'd feel safer on a speedboat. If we're just not doing crazy shit, I'd probably be okay on the speedboat. Like one time, that's okay. I got the vest on. I'd be alright. When have I covered a speedboat incident, y'all? Like never, never. Knock on wood. I've never done one. I should not say this shit. I'm putting it into the universe. That's fucked up. No, but obviously very sad. My condolences to the people involved in this, people who lost their lives. You're supposed to be just going up for, I'd imagine, just a scenic flight, taking it all in. And, that sucks that you lose your life doing some shit like that. So, it's a bummer. But yeah, we're closing out on a sad, somber note. That's why, I tried to make a little levity where I could. But yeah, that'll be the episode for today. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon, patreon.com/Isaiah News. Become a newsie today. I don't know, fake cough. Free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. The Meta or Facebook, Instagram. Thank you for liking the photos that I put, which are just thumbnails of this stuff. I appreciate that. Even if that's your only, obviously you wouldn't be listening to this, but that's your only way of really interacting. That's dope. I think that's cool. But yeah, I'm on X, the Everything app, all that kind of stuff. Free ways to support the effort. Follow on the TikTok, subscribe to the YouTube, follow on Spotify and the Apple for Podcasts. Whatever you're listening on, just hitting that button to, keep up with the Joneses is good. Leave a like, leave a comment, cool comment, hopefully. You're always appreciated. Sharing is caring. Tell a friend, maybe, or not. It doesn't matter. I really just appreciate you listening. So yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love you. Bye-bye. Mwah.